What's going on, everybody? Julie Murphy here, and we are going to get you to a life that you love because we talk about real people, real lives. It's real talk because it's time for us to make our financial world digestible so that we can apply it to our lives. I always say that what I do for a living is over the last 25 years is adding humanity back into finance. So do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, and that notification bell. And please, can you share these videos with your loved ones? Because it is time for us all to live exactly the life that we want to live. And I want to help you get out of wherever you're financially stuck or where your limiting beliefs around your money are not getting you to a life that you absolutely love, because you've been fiscally prudent. You've made mistakes, but you've done the right things and some of the wrong things, but who cares? It's time for us all to launch our lives into one that we love. No matter what your past is, it's time for us to get to a place that you love. So today I wanted to share with you about what's your next financial adventure. And people will say to me, financial adventure, how do those two words even remotely go together? Financial adventure, and how does that mix? Well, I want to share some stories, if you will. Some of them clients, some of them are people that I ran into throughout the years. Some of them have been my own personal experiences. Certainly, I'm not going to use anyone's names, faces, or anything of that nature. But sometimes I feel like when we're not sure where to go next, but we certainly know we need something to invigorate us or something to get us to the next place. Sometimes hearing other people's situations and stories, that there's parts that resonate. And I also believe that you found this video for a reason, and that perhaps your next adventure is awaiting for you too. But why do we not go on those adventures? We don't go to those next adventures in our lives because financially we don't see how it's possible. I'm often, when people hire me as a one-on-one financial consultant, they often, they're coming to me because they've typically somewhat been financially prudent and they've done the best job they can with their knowing, and they don't know how to get out of their own way. So I have people that either have had like no fun in their lives and they've been saving for the rainy day and their fear and anxiety has driven all their decisions. Or I have people on the other hand that have had so many adventures and so much that they've created this financial pile of poop, I'll call it. Um, and they're always chasing themselves because they've created debt and they're in a debt cycle and they don't know how to get out of it because that creates a lack of freedom. And, I found that either way actually is a lack of freedom. You're just suffering in a different form. And we as human beings create these suffering cycles because of our subconscious mind. And I often talked about Bruce Lipton, and he wrote a book called The Biology of Belief. So take a look, check it out, because it is a great book. And it talks about how we recreate these suffering cycles because of a trauma or a rejection from our childhood. And so we don't go on those adventures because we're wanting to make sure that I'm fiscally prudent and I'm not falling behind, or it's the keep up with the Joneses because everyone in the neighborhood has this. I've been so grateful for the pandemic on some respects because it's caused many of us to go inside. When I talk about in my first book, The Emotion Behind Money, the subtitle to it is Building Wealth from the Inside Out. Why? Building wealth from the inside out is about doing it on your terms. And wealth also isn't defined as dollars and cents only. I had somebody say to me recently, well, I'm calling in my abundance. I'm calling it. I'm doing the meditations. I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And I'm manifesting and somewhat, but the abundance that I know that is mine isn't here yet. So why is it not here? And I'm like, you have a lot of abundance. You have abundance in love. You have abundance in relationships. You have abundance in, but the fiscal part was where the abundance wasn't showing up. And I'm like, you have to say, like, I want materialistic fiscal abundance. Like, it was like narrowing the focus of what he wanted to manifest. So He manifested all this abundance and all these other places, just not totally where he wants to be yet in the financial front. And that's okay. It's okay to have be spiritual and holistic or religious as well as have money. It doesn't mean you need to be barefoot and pregnant to do good work in the world, right? Like you can do both. You can do both and it's okay to not forget about yourself along the way. So, let's talk about these adventures, shall we? So, I was reminded recently of no matter what phase or what age you are in life, I'm constantly reminded um and I've had a couple of them recently. When we get to our older years, whether that's your 50s, 60s, or 70s, and even 80s, I had one client that her goal was to dance at 89. And it was like, okay, so for her 89th birthday, I bought her dance shoes because that was her adventure at that stage in her life. And I'm constantly reminded, I've had a few of these that, many of us who are pre retired or retiring don't go on to those next adventures, but people in their 20s and 30s will like drop at the hat. Well, it's because we've got that responsible piece. Like we want to be responsible and and then people are going to ask you like, well, what's wrong with you that you're like going off and doing these things? And um, we have to stop subscribing to that because there's no reason in the world why your life can't expand and grow no matter what your physical chronological age is. You can actually even reverse your biological age. And there's tons of information about this with epigenetics and things of that nature from a physiological perspective, but we can do this also from a financial perspective. And why does it have to be a linear line? Why do we feel like life has to be a linear line? It does not have to be. But it's about no matter what age and stage in your life that you are, you can go to this next adventure. And we don't because we've stopped putting our money or our energy towards those adventures. Instead, we've patched it. We've patched it like it's materialistic things that actually is the adventure. Now, it may be travel or experiences, other things, but watch how we're doing that traveling, right? In terms of, I have one woman as an example. Years and years ago, I met this person, and she had said to me, Jewel, um, I know I'm so far behind financially. I've worked hard my whole life. My parents were immigrants to this country, and like my parents' viewpoint, I've made it. They gave me what they wanted was more opportunity, and now I've created it. But never had children. She always wanted children. And I watched because remember, I always say that we work things out or we act it out, and we do it through our money, through our health, or through our relationships. So this particular woman, what she did is she had gotten divorced and didn't marry in her late 40s and then didn't have babies. And it's interesting because I meet women in their 30s all the time as a financial planner saying that I have to financially help them plan to freeze their eggs. And because they're so afraid, because all their friends are starting to get married or married and starting to have babies and they're not having them. So they want to, control it all and freeze their eggs so it all happens. And it's like, there's some part about we have to release control and be in the flow of life. I remember I didn't have children until my late 30s. And I remember sitting there saying, well, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. Maybe I'm supposed to just be the gift of doing my financial work out in the world. And maybe those are my babies. And I like somewhat staying in the mystery, but also knowing that my heart's desire was always to have some. And it's interesting if we can choose and detach from the outcome, set the intention for what it is that we want to create in our lives. Like this woman really wanted to have babies, and she had thought that she was at wasn't happening. 47, biological body starts to change, not going to do it, and so she started to get depressed, gain weight, increase in financial debt, working for an employer that just didn't treat her with love and respect, and she wasn't getting paid what she was worth. And so I could start to see this pattern. So we started working on the debt stuff. So financially, a lot of times, we want to clean up our financial past while we're living in the present moment to plan for the future and do this all at the same time. Well, So what happened, I watched as we paid down her credit card debt over a couple of years. Then all of a sudden her weight started going up. And then she decided to do an Ironman, and then she pulled it down, and then all of a sudden increased her credit card debt again. And I watched this pattern. And then I started noticing that, oh, it just wasn't this woman. I was seeing it all over my client base. And it's this correlation that we have between our health and our wealth. Because when we have an unmet need inside, emotionally, we either act it out through our health, our money, or our relationships. So it's like, well, let's get to it. Let's dig down and see what it was. And this was the fact that she always wanted to have a baby. And I was like, you can still have a baby. I don't care how old you are. Like, you can adopt, you can have a surrogate, you can, whatever. Came back and decided that she was going to adopt children. And she did. And it's funny, I have a whole handful of clients that almost this exact same scenario has happened with, because there's only so many emotional patterns that we have as human beings. And so when I work with enough people, I start to see all these patterns where it's working out and acting its way out. And so the minute that piece became whole for her and she adopted children and just decided to do it as a single mom, she then attracted the man of her life, now married with kids, got rid of the boss that reminded her way too much of her ex-husband, because again, we attract the same bird if we haven't changed on the inside. And she finally is at a job where she's paid her worth because she chose to go on the next adventure. She chose to be in the mystery of, yeah, I'm not really sure how that's going to work out, but I'm definitely going to check it out. I've seen other people where it's okay, like when we're in our 20s and 30s, to like jump ship and go to a different state and go live, or a different country and go live and work. And, that like people, there's so much judgment around when people find this sense of freedom and they want to expand and they're having fun, because we're not having fun and expanding ourselves. So then we judge other people. So if you have someone in your life that you're watching them go on these adventures and you're not really sure how you work that out, spend more time with that person, because you're going to get little nuggets that actually will show you some of that path. Now, if you've pigeonholed yourself with financial debt, well, how can you go on the next financial adventure? So start to carve that out. Recently I've had a couple of clients get pay raises, and I said, okay, we need to fund your next adventure of life. And what is that? Whether it's a vacation or you want to try this new, gym, or I would encourage you though to have these adventures. We need to shift them from materialistic stuff to experiential. Why? Because the materialistic stuff is more short-term happiness. Like, it's only, think about a kid who gets all these presents around the holiday season, and then in a month they're not even playing with them. Because it's short-term happiness, it's new, it's like a new shiny penny. And then all of a sudden it's gone. Whereas if you have an experience, that builds and grows you on a soul level. And you're living life. We don't live life through our materialistic stuff. You can bullshit yourself that you are, but we're really not. So take a look at, where is that next adventure and that next pay raise, or your tax return, or maybe you gifted some money, or maybe you paid off a debt. Reallocate some of that money to go into something that is your next adventure. And even if you don't know what that next adventure is, create an account that's totally separate, whether it's an online savings account or at your bank, or I don't care where it is. If you want help with the most efficient ones, you can certainly get a hold of anyone on my team and do a consulting appointment. Put the information there at info@jmcwealth.com. And you can sit down with somebody individually if you wanted to consult with somebody of how to do these most efficiently. But your money is energy, so we have to energize what you want to create in your life. And so if you want to create adventures in your life and new experiences and things that feed your heart and soul, your money actually has to be guided towards that, and not at the cost of other things in your life. I continue to say this, that it's not an either or, it's an and. It's the things combined. Like, you can do both. And there's ways to do them. You just have to decide that you do want both, and you're going to figure out how to do both, and voila. I could give you many other examples, but check out, Awaken Your Work Life is a playlist on my YouTube channel. Go there, and I'm going to continue to put Lives That Thrive in there of people who are shifting their lives and going on the adventure, because we need to start tapping into these things that are more adventurous and open and taking quantum leaps and trusting that it's all going to work out, even though your head can't figure it all out, but your heart's desire, that's the exact direction I want to go. So here's to the next adventure, and just love your life. And if you need any help, you can get my book, awakenyourwealthbook.com. I'm giving it away for free. And I have all kinds of questions in there, pages 92 to 97, on the different areas of your life of how to brainstorm this next phase or next chapter for you so that you can create real wealth in your life, financially and otherwise, because you deserve it. And again, please don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you can know the next time I'm putting something up, as well as subscribe to the page if you would, and and please share it with those that you love, because it's all time for us to financially heal and get to a life that we absolutely love. Thanks.